good morning. We are camped out here on the Long Beach Peninsula. Believe it or not, this area played a really important role in coastal defense for the United States during World War II. Before radar, satellites, and instant communication, how did the military even know what threats were out there? Well, today we're going to explore some of that, from coastal batteries to early warning systems that watch the skies. So we're going to finish getting camp cleaned up and we're going to hit the trail. I am standing in Fort Canby. This was one of the key coastal defense points protecting the mouth of the Columbia and inland ports from attack. It's crazy to think that decisions were made here with information that originated seconds, even minutes before. In military terms, that might as well be hours. What made places like Fort Canby effective wasn't speed, it was position. The entire approach assumed that threats would arrive slowly enough to be seen, identified, and physically stopped at the mouth of the river. Everything here was built around denial, blocking access with guns, mines, and fixed positions that covered the channel itself. That worked as long as the threat moved at the same pace as ships on the water. But once threats began arriving faster, from farther away, from above, the problem changed completely. New systems weren't built to replace places like this, they were built to solve a different problem altogether. After leaving here, we're going to head up into the hills and see some of the other technology that was used to gather information to send to places just like this. All right, we made it up here to the old U.S. Air Force nacelle radar site. So this radar site was built during the 1950s, right at the height of the Cold War. This was part of the Air Force's first permanent air defense network. Standing up here now with this view, it really drives home the responsibility that sites like this had, and just how different early warning systems looked before there were things like satellites and the advanced radar that we use now. Sites like this existed to solve a different problem than the coastal forts we just left behind. Instead of stopping something physically, the goal here was to see earlier, to detect aircraft long before they reached population centers or critical infrastructure. Early radar installations were relatively exposed. Large, rotating antennas sat out in the open, vulnerable to weather and constant maintenance. Over time, those systems evolved. Protective domes were added, not to hide the radar, but to keep it operating reliably in places like this, where weather was always a factor. The technology changed quickly, but the location stayed the same. High elevation, clear sightlines, and isolation mattered more than comfort. This radar site didn't operate on its own. At the base of the mountain below, it was an entire support complex. Housing, power, operations, and logistics all built to keep the system running around the clock. Up here, everything was still physical. Equipment had to be moved, maintained, and adjusted by hand. People worked in the elements, keeping the system operational in conditions that were often harsh and unpredictable. And just like the systems before it, this approach eventually gave way to something else. Today, different systems occupy these same high points, still doing what places like this have always done best: staying connected, seeing far, and transmitting information outward. All right, so we have one more site to go check out that's not too far away from here, but man, I am definitely going to mark this spot down to come back to again because the views are just incredible. But for now, we're going to leave it as is and we're going to hit the road. As we came down the mountain, we hit something we weren't quite anticipating after the miles of well-groomed forest roads.
I copy. I'm going to move into 4 low just to be safe.
Yeah, sounds good. Turn driver just a bit. Passenger, 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 passenger. Straight down. And you should be good on that line. Just come on forward. Front, right, left, right, down.
Well, that was fun and a little bit unexpected to find out here. We ended up hitting a locked gate, so we had to take this little power line road and shoot over to another road to get out of here onto the next stop. And yeah, a little more excitement than I was expecting to see today. All right, so this is where we currently are at right now with this trip. This used to be plan A, but before Jeff and I came out here, I noticed on satellite view that there was a gate that gets up to our next stop, so I rerouted a different way. So we tried that way first. That was the new plan A. Well, that plan A also had a locked gate. We came back to this nice little campground, which is just absolutely beautiful, little primitive campground here, and we are going to try the original route and hope that maybe that gate isn't closed or locked, or maybe it's not there anymore and it was just an old satellite view. Regardless, we have a beautiful place to come back here and camp. It is so serene. It is right by a creek. Can't ask for anything better than that. So we're going to give it one last ditch effort to get up to this last site. It's open.
There's no gates.
No,
Oh,
it's
there it is.
Let's go.
Well, good news is the gate was open. Somewhat bad news, the trail ends here. It is really overgrown just where we drove up to, but we are only about a quarter mile away. So Jeff and I are going to hike the rest of the way up and see if we can get there. Well, we've beat our way through the bush here, gotten to the end of what you can see on the satellite view. Jeff is risking life and limb to go a little further up and see if there's an easy way around. Because if not, this is as far as we're probably going to get. Otherwise, we'd have to hike all the way up there because the site is up on that ridge right there. We couldn't make the hike. The road disappeared under years of overgrowth, fallen trees, and terrain that just wasn't going to let us through. So instead, I sent the drone to see what we could find. During World War II, this ridge wasn't just another high point in the forest. It was home to the Hull Creek Aircraft Warning Service Lookout. Built in the early 1940s, this site was part of a nationwide early warning system designed to spot incoming aircraft long before radar and satellites could. Getting here wasn't easy, even back then. The road had to be cut into the hillside. Crews lived in tents while construction continued, and communication relied on a single telephone line running miles back down the mountain. But from up here, visibility mattered. This was considered a very good location for aircraft detection. These lookout sites weren't always staffed by soldiers. Across the country, civilians were pulled into the system. Farmers, families, people living in remote places who already had a clear view of the sky. Their job was simple, but the responsibility was enormous. Watch, identify, and report anything that didn't belong. Hull Creek wasn't working alone. It was part of a larger network of observation posts spread across the region. On their own, each lookout only saw a piece of the picture. Together, they formed one of the earliest human-based air defense systems in the country. On a day like this, visibility would have been perfect, but most days weren't. Winter storms, fog, and long hours of waiting defined life at places like Hull Creek. Often, nothing happened at all, and that, in a strange way, meant the system was working. The road we tried to follow once made access possible, but over time, nature reclaimed it just as it reclaimed the lookout itself. These structures were never meant to last forever. They were built for a moment in history, and when that moment passed, they were left behind. Standing here now, or rather hovering above it, there isn't much left to see. No clear foundations, no tower, just a quiet clearing on a ridge. But for a time, someone stood here every day, watching the sky, making sure that whatever came next wouldn't come without warning. Okay, we made it back to camp after trying to get up there and a long day of exploring today. I am definitely ready to finish getting camp set up and just relax. I hope you enjoyed this little sneak peek into some of our early military history. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if you don't want to miss any more of my uploads, don't forget to subscribe. We will see you next time. And remember, go until you can't.